everyone, and welcome to my first of such things, an interview with author Ben Crawford of Sword and Sorcery Tale fame. How are you doing, sir?
No, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. How's the weather over wherever you are?
It is very nice today, actually. Just a few days ago, we had a lot of flooding and storms and whatnot, but today it's like super nice. So I got to mow the grass and go buy
That's
a
good.
bed all around. So that was great.
It snowed a couple of days ago here, so
I'm not jealous.
I imagine you would not be. Well, though it has melted at least, so we managed to get my girlfriend a new bike, so we're working the kinks out of that, so that's nice. So,
Sounds good.
which part of the world do you hail from?
I'm in Tennessee, southeastern Tennessee, the good old South, I reckon.
I did recognize a bit of a drawl.
Yeah, I mean, to me,
Or
I don't really notice it, but apparently when I hear myself in playback, it sounds pretty corn pone. So.
Well, in my case, it only comes out when I start speaking the native French. So,
Oh,
c'est tabarnak de calice de trou de cul de marde.
yeah. So you're in
Quebec.
Canada. But yeah, okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Oh, French Canada. Oh, land of eternal snows up till May. So,
That's a little rough.
yeah. Well, enough about that. So, we are here to talk to you about your particular works. I've got an example right here. This is
Oh yeah.
Sigyn of Asgard, Volume 1, The Vultures Will Know and Other Tales by B. Harlan Crawford, available on Amazon for those who are interested. I noticed that the other books you have on Amazon,
Mhm.
dog, of course. So, as I was saying, your other stories, collections I've noticed that you have on Amazon don't have a print edition. They're only on Kindle. Is that deliberate choice or is that...
Uh, kind of. But I did the first volume, and I wasn't really thrilled with how the artwork and stuff reproduced.
Mhm.
So I kind of want to go back and work on the other volumes some more and get some like higher resolution art and kind of put more effort into them. But I really do need to do that because the print copies seem to sell a little bit better.
Well, I
So
got mine, so...
yeah, that one sold a lot more than I thought it would, really. And even that first volume on the Kindle downloads still sells pretty steadily.
Yeah. Well, one of the
Uh,
advantages I think for digital sales is that there's no real tail end for it. You don't run out of books to sell. They just, stay there available for anybody to get.
and they're cheap.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
one thing you can say about me, at least I'm cheap. I'm not gonna break the bank.
Yeah, well, that is true. So,
But yeah,
now
I
when...
fully intend to get those out in print, like all the things I have for sale on Kindle. Just a matter of getting the time to like work out the kinks.
No,
I want to
excellent.
try to get a better looking product.
Yeah. So, when did you get started in the whole writing biz?
I probably 2009. I started putting like little Lovecraftian kind of rip-offs on like my blog page,
Hmm.
and then I did like a few fan fiction things. I guess I started the Sigyn stuff like I don't know, it's probably been a few years now, but because there was kind of a lull in between there, I'd I'd wanted to write some like Howardian Conan pastiche stuff, but I never really felt comfortable actually writing a Conan story because I didn't feel like I had any business doing that. So I just kind of
Yeah,
took the set.
about the only people I think of that I can actually say really, really got the character right are Howard himself and maybe Roy Thomas, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I like the Lynn Carter stuff. Not
Hmm.
that it's like especially accurate Conan, but I just kind of enjoy
Yeah.
I like the Thongor stories and all that. I just kind of enjoy his writing.
Yeah, I remember reading his stuff. It was back when I was in high school. They had a couple of his Thongor of Lemuria stories in the school library. I did pick those up. I think I actually read those before I read Robert E. Howard because I don't think they had any actual Conan stories in the library. They had Lovecraft though.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's odd. Yeah,
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 all
I
in
guess that's
French, of
all. I
course.
just
So I had to to read the translations instead of the originals.
yeah, Conan was out. like the Ace paperbacks. They had those at the grocery store here when I was like 10, 12 years old.
Hmm.
I didn't really find any Lovecraft. I was like into adulthood. I think I probably ordered off Amazon. It was the first Lovecraft I actually read.
It's weird because Lovecraft was the first one I ever actually managed to get my hands on. So I guess it just
I
depends
think,
on where you are.
yeah,
Yeah. I noticed that in France, mostly in, and because of, French Canada, I get a lot of books that are published in France. France has treated Lovecraft a lot better than a lot of places, I find, at least, in terms of artistic respect and such.
right.
And yeah, and the
Yeah,
same thing goes for Howard as well.
yeah. I'm like where I'm at. It's not really a literary minded area, so I mean, it's kind of could be said about anything.
Yeah. Well, Quebec City is not exactly, it's not the mecca of Canadian international culture, let's just say, but it does its
Uh,
best.
Basically,
Yeah.
for the stuff that like you and I would be into, I really had to kind of hunt it down.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's
nah,
especially the case for like used bookstores and stuff like that. For if you want to get the original language stuff in English, it's kind of a bit hard to find around here.
oh yeah,
Yeah. There's a
I
couple of
blamed
places, but
eBay for a lot of
oh
that.
yeah.
Like used bookstores used to, you'd find a wealth of like old '70s paperbacks, so just not necessarily Conan, but like anything
Anything,
really.
yeah.
But
I've got a
nowadays,
bunch here behind me
oh yeah,
accumulated over the years.
I used to have quite the vast collection, but I ended up trading them off and selling them and donating them to the library. Now I kick myself daily whenever somebody, hey, look at this cool paperback. It's like, I had that.
If you think you've had bad, imagine the people who owned original Magic cards and
Oh
got rid
yeah,
of those.
I know some of them guys.
Oh man, these guys must be kicking themselves badly.
Oh, they say those are insane.
Yeah. So
But yeah, I mean, I used to write. I was more into music back in my youth. I
yeah,
wrote a
and my
lot of
understanding
song
is that you're
lyrics.
also a bit of a musician as well as an author.
Yeah, I played in a lot of metal bands back in the day. Spent a lot of time doing that, mostly playing bass. Yeah, I wrote song lyrics, and then of course they usually had like some kind of Lovecraftian pulpy bent to them. I wasn't really writing hit singles then either. But and I'm not saying my musical career is over. It's just it was kind of a slog. We'd be in different bands and start getting somewhere. Things would start happening. Somebody would get thrown in jail, or they'd quit,
Or
or
the drummer
something.
would die, as is traditional.
Yeah, he'd just combust on stage and that sort of thing. So,
I think
so
I
I've been
watched a
kind of
Guar.
on a
I think I
break.
watched that happen in a Guar concert one time.
Oh yeah. So,
So, what
yeah.
any particular kind of bass that you were playing specifically in terms of instrument?
Oh well. Let's see if I can do this without destroying everything. Oh
Oh, there
well.
it is.
Yeah, that's not one that I used to play. I recently got that one,
Hmm.
but I used to have several Charvels like that back in the day. I sold them all and I reacquired that one.
Oh, so Charvel, that's a bass reference.
It is. It is.
Okay, I never
Yeah, it
got
is.
that before. Thank you for explaining that. I thought it was like a
Well,
character or
I
something.
used that on a, I used to play that, there's a superhero miniature game called Hero Clicks
Yeah,
you could play, and there was a forum for that. So I kind of took the Charvel base name and combined it with Captain Marvel from,
of course. Yeah, yeah,
Marvel
yeah.
Comics. And I thought that was cute. And I just kind of like used it for other stuff. And when I joined the Robert Howard forum, they were, how they demand a username and password. And I just kind of recycled that. And it's kind of
Yeah.
stuck. So that's where it does in fact come from the guitar company.
Yeah, cool. So, speaking of Robert Howard, how did you come across your stuff? Is very much, in the vein sword and sorcery, heroic fantasy, and stuff like that. So, how did you really get into that genre when you first started reading and writing?
Well, I first got into it probably the same as a lot of people with Marvel Comics Conan adaptions,
Hmm.
because that's where I learned about the character to start with. Before that, I read mostly like war and horror comics, and I never really got into superheroes till later. But then I found out that there was like novels about Conan, so I found the Robert Howard stuff.
Did you figure they might be based on the comic book or the reverse?
Yeah, I was like, oh, I figured, like Roy Thomas was writing paperbacks or something. And because I mean, I would read the Conan stories a couple, I didn't dig
Didn't read the
deep in like the
credits.
liner notes or the letters page and all that. So
Mm,
then I figured out, there was this guy Robert Howard that actually wrote all this,
yeah,
and
and
I
way back when
tracked
too.
into it. Oh yeah, yeah. That kind of blew my mind when I found out it was like that old, really, and especially like Cole was older than that.
Yeah, yeah. Like the first sword and
Like,
sorcery. If you go by, the standard idea that the first real sword and sorcery story is the Shadow Kingdom, with Kull versus the Serpent Men, that's
right.
1922 right there. Before
That's
that, you've got,
wild.
yeah, before that you got a couple
That's
other things and such as that, but like I've
and
got
that's a really good. Go ahead.
yeah. Oh no, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's like a really good full blown sword and sorcery story too. Shadow Kingdom, like
Yeah, like there were some
really
precursors
evolved.
before that. You had like the Solomon Kane stories and such, which were more like heroic fantasy with horror elements. But this one was
Hmm.
the first one that's very much that whole heroic fantasy in a imagined prehistory thing aspect
Right.
that sword and sorcery really, hinges on pretty much.
And the imagined prehistory is like really the smartest thing I think Howard did because, like I started out writing those Sigan stories. It's like in the Hyborian age,
Yeah.
just straight Hyborian age ripoff. I'm like, well, I can't really sell this and use somebody else's setting. So like, well, I'll put it in the Bronze Age, and like you have to do all this research and like you think you've got everything right, then
Yeah, one
somebody
of the
comes
questions I was
back
going to
and
ask
like,
you was with regards to how the difficulty of translating an existing Hyborian Age story to the Bronze Age in a semi-real history, and from going from there, writing original material in that period.
it's not super hard. It depends on like how accurate you want to get with it.
Yeah,
But no matter how much you really try, there's always like somebody will come at me and is like, well, technically the Persians didn't wear those helmets until the first century AD, and
yeah,
you get that sort of thing. So I kind of play it fast and loose because there's that whole period of the Bronze Age collapse that I mean, anybody that's interested in that
oh
can look
yeah,
it up.
sea peoples and all that stuff.
It's kind of like the Dark Ages in Europe. It's like things got so bad nobody really kept records and people forgot how to read and write. So the historical record for that era is like real sketchy. So I like figured that that gives me carte blanche to like make up stuff.
Exactly.
So that's
Plus,
what that's what I did. It works pretty good.
yeah. Plus, the whole reason why Howard created the Hyborian Age is so he wouldn't have to do as much research as if he was doing that because he didn't have access to all the kind of different sources that we have nowadays.
Yeah, nowadays, I mean, he didn't have Google or Wikipedia or whatnot, so he'd have to go to the library and
He had
check
whatever they
stuff
had.
out. Yeah, it's probably in Cross Plains.
Hmm.
I'm guessing maybe not a lot. So I'm not
Yeah,
sure what
rural
library.
Texas back in the 1920s and 30s, probably not the most, how should we say it, not the greatest center of learning in the entire known world.
Right. I wouldn't think so. I mean, there's probably some Howardian scholars out there that
We'll be able to tell
might
us
correct
different, of
us.
course,
But
but
yeah, I'm sure they'd be glad to if we
uh,
asked.
feel free to come on my
But
show, guys.
oh yeah, give somebody a forum to spout some knowledge. They'd probably enjoy that. So.
Yeah, well, I would definitely have no problem hosting that. So,
I think I blew past your question about getting started writing. But
oh,
basically,
we're
yeah.
going to play fast and loose with history. We're going to play fast and loose with interviewing formats. So,
Well, I'll tell you where when I started writing those Sigan stories and posting them on like the forum.
mhm.
That was kind of a conversation I had with Zerono from the forum. He lives not far from me, and we used to like meet up at the flea market, and I'd run into him different
Damn, that
places.
is nice. I actually got to know your stories by finding his art and then tracking him down
Oh
to
yeah,
the forums and then coming across you.
yeah, because he did a couple illustrations from my stories. I was like, that's really cool. If I had
Yeah.
some money, I would like hire him to draw everything.
Oh man, that guy should
We
do
used to like be
that guy should get hired to do concept art for something because holy shit.
he's had some stuff turn up in like episodes of Hawaii Five O and whatnot.
Really?
Yeah, the
Holy
new
shit.
Hawaii Five O. They did a show about there's some serial killer, and like they go into his house, and like some of his paintings were in the background out of focus.
Of course.
I'm not sure how much he got out of that, but if you like search Lovecraftian or anything on Google, like one or two of his images will turn up immediately. So he's kind of got a thing going there.
Oh yeah.
He's a real talented
I
dude.
really should buy some of his stuff just to have it. I've got like a couple of t-shirts with his stuff on it. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, I really should get like a full printout or something like that. One of those books that he makes.
Oh yeah, those are impressive.
Yeah, impressive and pricey. Let's face facts.
Well, yeah.
Worthily so, of course. But anyway, enough of other people's art. Let's keep focused
Well,
on you.
that came, I'm not sure if it was something we were talking about in person or something on the forum even, but somebody made the statement that Red Sonja is just, female Conan. We're like, no, that's bullcrap. She's nothing like Conan because of this, and this.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, hey, what if Conan was a girl? Then I that kind of went from there, and I kind of wanted to, so I could use the Hyborian Age and have a character that's not Conan.
Yeah.
Then I kind of also wanted to kind of avoid all the standard Amazon warrior woman tropes that we're all used to, and just kind of like she doesn't have any crazy like creepy rapey backstory like like Roy Thomas did with Red Sonja back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like she got bored, starts wandering around the Hyborian.
I mean, if it worked for Conan, it could work for her.
Right. And I'm not, origin stories are okay, but I don't think they're really necessary, and especially like you get your wandering adventure types, like
where they came from is less
bored.
important than where they're going.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, where they came from is not exciting. So.
Yeah.
But,
plus, as I recall, your first, I think as I recall, the first Sigyn stories that you wrote were in fact later on in her adventuring career, so to speak. Anyway, so.
Yeah, that was a deliberate choice. That's I wanted to jump around. Again, aping Robert Howard, basically.
Yeah, like
a lot of them.
The first Conan story is like as he's king of Aquilonia, so that is decades into his adventuring career right there.
And like starting like some kind of linear narrative of somebody's career just kind of bored me to death. So like as ideas occur to me, I just kind of wrote them. And however old she is, just kind of makes sense for where she's at. I kind of had like a head canon of how this all lined up.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on the forums as well.
Yeah, I did like a little outline. Back then, a lot more people seemed to be amused with that on the forums, but forums kind of died off a little bit as far as participation, I've noticed. So I haven't really been posting a lot there.
These things happen. The internet is fickle. I'm actually going to turn the light down a little bit. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, you're starting to get some more intensity.
Yeah, there we go. That should be a little bit better. There we go.
Yeah, there's less of a glare.
Yeah, now I got just a little underline of the lamentations there. Yeah, you knew I had to wear one of these.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So beyond also writing, you also do the illustrations for a lot of your stories. I'm looking at some of them right here, right now. And I'm noticing a bit of a pattern, both in your artwork and in your writing work. And I put it down here as a recurring theme of busty, badass warrior babes.
Yeah.
Would you like to discuss the impact of this particular literary theme on your oeuvre?
Well, I attended a panel with Larry Elmore, who's an illustrator from like TSR and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he was displaying a bunch of these like drawings he did of like, hot chicks or whatnot. And I was like, well, why'd you draw these? Or why don't you sell these? Like, well, dragons sell. Because like I'm at the point in life where if I got time to myself, I'm gonna draw a hot chick instead of a dragon. It's kind of I would rather write about, some hot Amazon chick than a sweaty barbarian dude. We've seen all that before. So
as one does. Yeah, because you've also written about other characters as well beyond just Sigyn, of course.
Yeah, and some of them are sweaty barbarian dudes. So there's probably some of that coming up. Yeah.
Well, you've got a little bit of extra variety in there.
Right. I mean, you've probably talking about like the post-apocalyptic stuff I've
Mhm.
been writing.
Yeah, yeah.
Comment.
Muala and Balt, as I recall. Yes.
Correct. That's two of the characters. And I got some other characters that kind of in the same
Same
world,
unit.
I guess.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
specifically, those ones would be the Stalkers of Uad. That's one of
Yes.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's see, there was the other one. That one you
There were
haven't.
3 Bolton Wallace stories, which
Yeah.
that last one I did, the 3 millionth day.
Yeah.
I'm particularly pleased with that. It's
Oh yeah,
not
that
really
one was
getting over
good.
with everybody. Yeah.
That one is available also on Amazon in a particular
It is.
collection. Let me take a look here. Actually, it's probably easier if I just look at it in my Kindle here.
Yeah, it is available on Kindle.
Yeah, and I highly recommend picking
Everybody
that up for
check-
everybody watching.
Do what?
I highly recommend everybody pick this up if everybody watching.
Me too. It's really awesome. I think so anyway. Basically, if you like Thundar the Barbarian, you should enjoy this pretty well. Maybe a little more humor injected into it.
Yeah. So yeah, the story is On the 3 Millionth Day and Other Tales of a Forgotten Future by B.
And
Harlan Crawford.
Yeah. I went with B. Harlan, by the way, because that sounded a lot more pretentious for like a pulp writer than actual name. So I need to change it up a little bit if I was gonna be a pro writer.
Well, whatever works.
Yeah. Yeah, that 3 millionth day collection, I was really pleased with that. I love it. So hopefully somebody else will. I mean,
It definitely has.
huge.
Do you find it there? What are the differences with writing for a post-apocalyptic kind of future like that versus an imagined prehistory, as in with Siggins?
Well, yeah, this I've kind of got to imagine the prehistory what goes with that doesn't make it to the page. I even got a little map I drew out, showing how California broke off and became an island chain and all this. That's all stuff. It's nothing super original. It's all ideas that have been explored before. But
I don't know. I
wanted to
haven't
explore
seen that many
it.
stories where Californians are now cannibalistic raiders who dress only in weapon harnesses and turbans.
Exactly. That's I figured that's what eventually would happen if you isolated everybody on California. They would eventually have to become something like that. And some of those ideas from Walla were actually what I was going to do with Siggin, but I kind of ran some of them by some people, and they're like, there was like a lot of pushback having like your Asgardian Valkyries with filed teeth and stuff. So I was like, well, I'll save that.
Yeah, I can see how some people might want to not to go that direction.
I mean, it really cuts down on the glamour level, but only a savagery. And I've got some more ideas for them that'll probably get written, and I've got some other ideas.
Reading them.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Oh,
I've got some more ideas in that setting that I'll be trying to roll out pretty soon.
That's good.
But,
have you found that the sword and sorcery genre works best with the short story format that you've been using, or do you plan on actually doing longer tales?
My attention span works out better with the short story format I've been using. Probably has more to do with it. I don't know. I like the short story format because you get in, tell your story, and you're out. I mean,
yeah, I do tend to find that a lot of attempts at long form sword and sorcery, it works great for the other end of the heroic fantasy spectrum with like the Tolkien-esque kind of stuff.
right.
There it kind of works, and it's like you get up to like Poul Anderson at that point, then you've got the right kind of writing style for that. But once you start getting really much into the Howardian sword and sorcery end of the spectrum, you need to either be very episodic for a long-term thing, kind of like Hour of the Dragon ultimately is, or stick with the sword and sorcery format, the short story format.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I don't know if I plan far enough ahead to write something that long. I haven't really thought about attempting it. But pretty much all my ideas come to me like, this would be a great short story.
Yeah, it's like
I thought about stringing a few together, like I don't know if you ever read what's the guy's name? E.A. Van Vogt short stories where he would string 3 or 4. We'd string 3 or 4 short stories together and make a novel out of them, like Voyage of the Space Beagle or whatnot. And they work, but you can tell they strung 3 short stories together. But he kind of that's like these interconnecting pieces to like
Kind of
combine
like
them.
what
And I
they
thought
did
about
with the
that.
original Conan printings that Sprague and Carter did, where they add like in between in the actual stories, they put like here's what Conan did in between this story and this story, kind of thing.
Right. Read our story that goes here.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, kind of that sort of thing. But I don't know. Maybe I'll try it one day if I can come up with a story that actually lasts that long and needs to last that long. I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Or
could
you could do
pad
like
anything
an
out with.
anthology piece where you have like a like a heavy metal or something like that, where you have someone telling the greater story series of stories throughout.
Oh yeah,
That could work too.
that work out pretty good. I just don't want to pad something out with
Yeah.
they sat
That
down to dinner and had the following dishes, and
yeah.
like Tolkien.
The problem with trying to elongate a sword and sorcery, specifically a sword and sorcery style story, is that it's a pulp genre, and that requires a certain amount of speed
Mm,
to its execution. You can't really pad that out without losing some of the the momentum to the story.
right. And I think in basically coming up on that sort of thing, I'm kind of programmed to think of things in a pulpy, short story manner, and it's like everything is like here's a self-contained story. Like some of the longer ones I've wrote, I've ended up going back and cutting stuff out,
Mm-hmm.
like because like well, clearly that's just padding and it doesn't need to be in there. It moves faster, there's more action. Well, you move
Yeah.
not necessarily action. There's more energy going through the story.
Yeah, exactly. If you can maintain that throughout, then ultimately you're just gonna keep adding on more and more energy until you get to the end.
Yeah, but yeah, for like a novel or something, I don't know because you
Mm.
kind of have to have I guess, a
Ebb and flow
wave
to it. Yeah.
form. Yeah, so maybe someday we'll see.
Yeah. So let's see. Beyond that, you've also written some historical fiction as well. A certain Pirate Maiden, as I recall.
Oh yeah, that was difficult because of the historical aspect of it. Because I was like, before I write this, I better look it up. What were
Yeah.
they doing in Pensacola in 1600? Like
Yeah. That
nobody.
specifically, that character is called.
Uh, Mad Morwenna Jones.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, she uses aliases too.
Yeah. Of course, she's got a dozen different names, of course.
Yeah, that one. Those were cool to write. They're kind of like that's kind of my. I guess you could say that's like my Solomon Kane, maybe.
Only she swears a hell of a lot more, and she's
Yeah,
nowhere near
and
as nice.
no, she's like completely objectionable, and I almost made her too objectionable. Where it's like I don't like her. I want bad things to happen to her. So she's like,
Yeah.
if she's totally, you know, terrible individual, she will rob you blind at best. I mean,
At
you're
best,
lucky she
yeah.
doesn't murder you. Yeah, I mean, like, so yeah, I got.
You're lucky if she doesn't leave you hamstrung and bleeding out while some horrible monster's coming along just so she can get away faster.
She. I can see her doing that. Yeah,
Yeah.
if it's a choice between her getting away, and, yeah, exactly.
Do you plan on
I'm,
doing anything more with that character, or are you focusing more on Walt and Walt and Sigyn?
I'm kind of focusing more on my post-apocalyptic setting,
Mhm.
and I kind of want to probably do some more weird westerns. So I've wrote a couple of those. I don't know if you had a chance to check those out. There's
I
one that
did
got
read
published.
at least one of them. Yeah, the Green Man story.
Yeah, that was one of them. There's another one that got published in that John. Oh, here it is. This
Oh yeah,
ancestors and
Ancestors and
descendants.
Descendants. That's a for those who don't know,
Robert.
that is prequels and sequels to Lovecraftian stories written by
Right.
other people.
So I did I guess a prequel to the Arthur German story set in the
Hmm.
Old West, and it's basically just like a spaghetti western knockoff with some like Lovecraftian stuff in it. So
Sweet.
I uh I got a outline of a story now I'm fiddling with, and it's kind of right now it's kind of set in like kind of ambiguous 1920s, 1930s Kentucky, kind of gentlemen sitting around in the parlor going, "Oh, let's see what we're gonna do about this here eldritch occurrence going on." But I'm kind of easing the idea of making that into a weird Western. So we'll see how that pans out.
Do you plan on
And I'm
doing
also,
anything? Yeah, go ahead.
well, I'm also like exploring the idea of like a, kind of like a weird World War II story in the Pacific. But we'll see what comes of that. I got some ideas
Mm,
sketched out. But it's all a matter of sitting down and writing it.
yeah.
That's my downfall, is actually typing the stories out, because that becomes work at that point.
Yeah, for me, it's editing videos,
Oh, yeah, editing is brutal.
especially
I
for
need,
the video game stuff. Because at least with stuff I'm just doing where I'm recording myself talking, I can just
mm,
add pictures and stuff, cut the things, and that's it. I've got long pieces where it's just me talking. Whereas with the video game stuff, I have to like cut and paste every single thing that's going to be on
oh,
screen, and that can take a long time. Especially since I have to record everything that I'm putting up there too.
that's pretty rough. So,
Oh yeah,
I
I do what
mean,
I can.
the recording stuff, I did a lot. Obviously, when we played music, we'd record a lot, but somebody else did all the editing. I would just play and leave,
Yeah, that's
whatever.
a
I,
sweet
that'd be
deal right
tough.
there.
Yeah, it looked like it's pretty hard on those guys that were actually cutting together, trying to cut out the mistakes and loop something back in where we played it right once. That's always
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, editing, writing is kind of, because I think everything that I write down is like genius. So I don't want to cut anything out.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So I find people to run it by, say, hey, look at this. See if you can
Yeah.
find anything.
Like when you write, how much time do you spend re-editing your stories before you actually put them out there?
Oh, quite a bit. I mean, I haven't really kept track of it. I have everything like on thumb drives and on Google Docs, whatever. So like if I see somebody soliciting stories for whatever, I'll go find something that kind of matches it, and I'll reread it 2 or 3 times and cut stuff out. But it seems like, I don't know, my brain kind of goes numb after a few rereadings, and I'm
Hmm.
just know I'm letting something go that's like some kind of horrible typo, or I've cut out a whole chapter without realizing it.
Yeah, once you get too deep into something, you need to just like sit back, do something else, and come back with a fresh eyes after a while.
Yeah. So far, I haven't had any really bad humiliations with that. So
Uh,
for my purposes, the editing has been okay. It's just like it's a slog and kind of stressful, but
yeah,
it'd be turning a big crank for 10
yeah,
hours.
it needs to be done. What can you do?
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, yeah. So beyond that, you also like you've done the illustrations for your a lot of your stories as well. Do you have a
Yeah, I've
particular
tried.
favorite way of doing those, or?
No, I just it's pen and ink drawings really, and then I'll take a picture of them with the camera and throw some effects on it. I'm
Well, you do have some really good ones. I'll say that. Definitely better
well,
than anything I could do.
I feel like most of my art is really amateurish. So when I look at it, that yeah, somebody else
Well,
looks at it like it's great.
well, then again, a lot of the artists I know are specifically in the like amateur kind of D&D OSR kind of thing. So they do their
That,
own artistic work. I know a couple of them that do their own professional art, and other ones are just basically scribbles. So in comparison, you are definitely slightly above average in that regard.
what I do is really heavily influenced by those old RPG artists, and
Mhm.
because it kind of falls into my ability range, and like some of the stuff like that. I don't know if you saw. Well, I know you've seen the cover on that 3 Millionth Day that
Mhm. Yeah.
that's on Amazon. That was a drawing I did. I was trying to make one of those, weirdo 70s paperback paintings where everybody's real angular looking.
Yeah.
And our buddy Zerano went in and put some digital effects on it for me and kind of made it a little freakier. So he's kind of turned me on to like
Yeah, he's really into doing
digital.
digital effects on stuff these days.
Yeah, so he's got me turned on to that. I haven't quite dove into it like he has. I'm gonna have to buy another laptop, I think, before I get into something like that.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that requires some tools in order to really get into.
Oh yeah, and attention to detail and commitment to actually working on something for a while, which I struggle with. So we'll see how that
Yeah.
pans out. But yeah, I enjoy doing the art form. I mean, I know what I'm seeing while I'm writing this. I'm like, well, this is what this thing looks like. This is this creature. So here it is.
I remember for one story, it was the one where Sigyn's queen of a kingdom for a short period of time, much to
Right.
her chagrin. And
Yeah, she absolutely hates it.
yeah, I read the story, and by the end, I said, "Okay, I know what your next illustration is going to be. Obviously, it's this guy eating his chicken, and I would not mean that scene at all." And guess which scene you illustrated? It's the one I mentioned sarcastically. God damn it! It would have
Yeah,
been a perfect pinup moment.
that'd be great. Yeah, there's a painting associated with that one. I'm not sure if it made it into the Amazon volume or if I just posted somewhere. Another buddy of mine actually painted like the tower with the winged
Oh yeah, yeah,
sorcerer
yeah. I've
guy.
seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that turned out really good. I did not do that as my friends, but he did a really good job of that. His name's Bob Rothwell,
Mm-hmm.
and he sells artwork and stuff on Facebook, so check him out.
Yeah, you can
But
actually see that particular illustration on the story on your blog, which is the Library of the Schlock Lords. You want to talk about where you
oh
got the
yeah,
name for that?
uh, well, it was me and Zorano and my friend Bob I was just talking about. We basically sit around and talk about terrible Filipino movies and lurid comic books, and I'm not sure which one of us actually said the words, but we kind of appointed ourselves as the Schlock Lords. And at one point, that was a blog was like all three of us were going to work on, but I kind of ended up dominating it with my stuff. Like the other
Yeah, I have
guys end
noticed
up
that.
posting once in a while, but yeah, we kind of appointed ourselves Schlock Lords. So there we go.
Yeah.
I'm a Schlock Lord.
So I'm looking at it now. There's you can find a lot of your own stories here. One of them is the Gonshu stuff. There's a character. What was his name? A American Army general. Oh yeah, Blair, General Blair,
Oh
who ends
yeah,
up in Gonshu. You ever planning on doing any stories about this guy?
I have an outline written down. I haven't done anything with it yet. Yeah, Gonshu is kind of like, I guess, my knockoff of everything I do is a knockoff. It's kind of a knockoff of Carcosa. Kind of, it's just like this distant planet somewhere where everything's like dreadfully awful.
Well, that
And
Carcosa is basically a not a messed up version of Barsoom, anyway. So
pretty much, yeah. So yeah, this General Blair is involved in some. Well, spoiler alert: if you read the first Bolton Wallace story, there's like a basically end up going into like an abandoned installation and finding weirdness happening. Well, this would have been the same place General Blair was at before everything went horrible, and he gets transported to Gonshu, and dreadful stuff just happens to him, and he confronts it with blazing automatic pistols. And
as one does.
yeah, well, I
Yeah.
mean, a guy like him, what's he gonna do? So yeah, I do have an outline for a story with him, and one day I'll
So we
flesh it
have a
out.
confirmation of the existence of a Ben Crawford shared universe.
Yeah, we do. Somewhat. Basically, it's just I just keep name dropping all these weirdo names I come up with, my quasi Lovecraftian deities and whatnot.
I mean, if
I just,
Cull can join with Bran Mark Morn to fight the Romans, I
oh,
mean,
yeah, I don't know if I'll ever do a crossover to that level. It might cause my brain to explode. Have all
well,
my
I'll read
league.
it.
Oh, okay. I appreciate it. As long as somebody, I'll probably keep writing them anyway. I was gonna say, as long as people are reading it, I'll keep writing it. I'll probably write it anyway.
Hey, I keep
So,
making videos regardless of whether people watch them. So,
yeah. So
yeah.
it's good. It's a good hobby, if nothing else. I will say, a few things I have sold writing, I've actually cleared more money doing writing than I did doing music. So all the money we got paid for that
Does
went
that say
back into the
something about the
bank.
writing industry or about the music industry?
And it's probably something about me more than anything. It's probably commentary on me. But yeah, we never cleared a lot of profit. And it's like, I've sold a couple of these books. That's more than I made playing music. So there's that.
Yeah.
And I can say, I guess, once you make any amount of money, you call yourself a professional. So I tell all my friends, it's like, it's in your best interest to refer to me as a professional author when you see me the next time. Oh, there we go. And it's bound to happen sooner or later.
Mm. Such things do occur. There you go. Okay, I can still see you.
So,
Well, in any case, I think we
Twitter is
have
just
covered pretty much everything. So, is there anything else you wanted to pimp out that's coming up for you?
just go to my blog, libraryoftheschlocklords.com or at blogspot.com.
The library of the
It's one of the few things that comes up.
schlockklords.blogspot.com.
Yeah. It's one of the few things that will come up if you Google Library of the Schlocklords. So
It does tend to announce itself.
no problem.
Yeah.
Robert Poyton's got another anthology coming out, so
Mhm.
I'm gonna be in that again.
Yeah, you're in
And,
Savage Realms #2 with Cove of the Apostates, right?
Correct. A heavily reworked version of Cove of the Apostates. It started out as a Hyborian Age Sigan tale, and now it's post-apocalyptic. But it's once the statute of limitations runs out on that being published, I'll probably stick both versions up on the blog so you can compare and contrast. But the Apostates would make a really good D&D monster, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, for those who don't know, imagine underwater set a civilization that got blasted by their local god for various probably justified reasons, and are now doomed to be formed as statues that are connected with sea life that acts as the joints and such, and basically will tear you apart limb from limb if you piss them off.
Like a seafood golem, we'll call it.
That is always fun.
Yes, so that's real. Yeah, check out that Savage Realms. It's on Amazon.
Yeah.
You
also got there was another anthology called Weird Tales, AILS, that included a Sigan tale as well, as I recall.
Yeah, that was one of the first straight up Bronze Age Sigan tales I did that was not originally Hyborian Age, and that turned out pretty cool.
I did like okay, screw it, spoilers for the story. I did like the enemy in that, the main villain in that story, the necromancer that she goes up against. That guy came across as really Clark Ashton Smith kind of necromancer style character there.
Yeah, he's actually Ziam Thog. He's not. Everybody calls him a necromancer or sorcerer, but he's really like a scientist that's kind of way ahead of the curve.
Yeah, one of those messed up alchemist types.
Too far ahead of the curve for his own good, I guess. And
I did like the way that you actually kill those zombies by having them, like with a nail up their nose that's holding the fluid inside their skulls.
Yeah, don't ask me how that worked. It's obviously some kind of super science of the past that we don't understand anymore.
Yeah, well, it did remind me of Egyptian mummification and stuff like that, where they would pull up his brain out from their nose and such.
But yeah, they may have picked that up from him and garbled the intent.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll say that. Yeah, so, he's like a scientist, and he has these big ideas that are just.
He's going to change the world, but how he changes the world probably won't be to everybody's taste.
Right. To be clear, he is a bastard. So I mean, he's not a good guy. He's going to do horrible stuff. But yeah, the world's not ready.
As you do. Yeah.
Exactly. So check that out. Sure.
I mean, the world isn't ready for Herbert West. It's not ready for this guy back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of Smith, though. Speaking of Smith, how would you rank the Weird Tales 3, Howard, Lovecraft, and Clark Ashton Smith? What order do you put them in?
Oh, well, I'm going to just put Howard first because really he's been with me longest, and that stuff still gets me. I've read it. Like, I've read Beyond the Black River umpteen times, and it's still like, I still get choked up when Balthus bites it,
Yeah.
It's really cool. I think I would rank Clark Ashton Smith above Lovecraft for me personally. Because his things are more to my
taste. Put Howard and Smith pretty much on the same level. It's just they're number one, but in different ways. Like what Howard did for warriors and barbarian stuff, Smith did for sorcerers and the like. He just wrote those like perfectly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you want to learn some new vocabulary, Clark Ashton Smith will hook you
Oh yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah. That guy was. I mean, the guy was. Both Howard and Smith were pretty much poets first and foremost in certain ways, especially
Yeah,
Smith
what's the
himself.
you speak French, you can probably get the pronunciation right, but the Colossus story Clark Ashton Smith did,
Yeah, the Colossus of Ilogne.
yeah, that is like really, really good stuff
Oh
there.
yeah, yeah.
Like the
That's the
Beyond the
that
Black
is
River.
basically the necromancer that reminded me the most of the one in your weird tales story.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because he too was like physically, deformed and
Right.
just generally not able to do much physically. So he, builds himself
It's
up, so
a
to
big
speak.
brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have him in mind while I was writing that, but maybe subconsciously I was still
Yeah.
picking up that sort of thing. But
Yeah, it
yeah,
was a
that's
good character there.
I appreciate it. He's not coming back, so
No, I figured he got a pretty terminal end in that story.
yeah, he's not coming out of that one. He's not gonna science his way out of that.
Nope, 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 nope.
But check out the story and see how he gets killed. So there you go.
Yeah, yeah, we're not spoiling that much. All right, well,
Um,
anything else coming up in the recent future?
um, like I said, there's another Poyton volume coming out. I'm gonna be in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
It's
have the
all gonna
title
be.
for that one, or?
The title is still being thought up. It's gonna be based on all the stories are gonna have to do with the arts. So I've got one involving basically like art, like paintings and whatnot, and it just goes horribly wrong for everybody. But it's gonna,
Well, the art world is known to chew people up and spit them out. So,
and it's a Sigan rewrite, but I've kind of put it in the difficult post-apocalyptic setting. But rereading it, it's really heavily Clark Ashton Smith influence.
hey, I got no complaints with that.
The big bad, you'll know who it is. I didn't come out and like say who it is exactly, but he's somebody you've read before. So
Oh, I look forward to reading that one.
yeah, it's turned out pretty good. I think changing the setting and streamlining the story a bit kind of helped a lot. So that'll be coming out in the not too distant future.
All right,
Like I
well,
said, I
I
got
will keep
more things
myself
I'm trying to do.
informed.
My Amazon author page, you can see pretty much everything that's available there. So that's under B. Harlan Crawford, or if you find any of my titles on there, you just click on the author's name and it'll take you to it. But that's where all these anthologies and stuff are. So.
Yeah, well, I look forward to seeing more of them show up there.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right, well, I would like to thank everybody for watching, and thanks to Mr. Ben Crawford here for deigning us with his presence. Thank you very much, sir.
Anytime.
Anytime. I will hope to see you again someday.
That'll be great. Whenever.
All right, well,
I'm not busy.
hopefully with a better camera.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, well, so far it works pretty good, I'd say.
I'm gonna put something on my ceiling next time, so I don't know. Maybe get a Zorano portrait of some kind of Lovecraft.
Ooh, that'd be nice. Yeah, maybe I'll put something behind me.
Now the studious bookshelf is always a good background. It looks like you know your stuff there.
Yeah, well, I got the whole, Tarzan's over here and a couple of, sorcery stuff over there. I got the Conan's way over there in the corner.
Yeah,
So, I do what I can with what I got.
Excellent.
All right, well, till next time.
All right, we'll see you.
See ya.